This is a HeadGum podcast.
You got mail.
Hi, I'm Millie Tamaras.
And I'm Alise Morales.
And this is
Go Touch Grass,
the podcast where we log in
so you can log off.
Alise and I are two chronically online comedians, and on this pod, we break down the week in internet discourse, viral memes, TikTok trends, and niche influencer drama so you can literally do anything else with your time.
Anything else? And speaking of something else that you could do with your time, you could join our Patreon community. If you like what you hear today and you want to hear more, we've got more content weekly. We've got a Discord community. We've got our spin-off series, Search History, where we go back and break down a viral discourse from the past. We have had so many people join the Patreon at the end of 2024, clearly with a goal of being more informed about the discourse in 2025. But things are popping off in there. People have been going back listening to all the old episodes. You would be surprised at how much content we have up there, and we update it every week, and we're in there chit-chatting and responding to stuff. So if you're loving the pod...
It's a fun community. Yeah.
It is. It is. And if you're loving the pod, there's more pod for you. So
there's more pod to be had. And don't forget to leave us, listen, if you're enjoying the pod, don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. We love your reviews. We need more of them, but really the best review you can do is tell your friends. Tag us in a little story. We'll repost it. We're always online. And guess what? Speaking of online, we have charted new territory.
Wow.
Talk about the Oregon Trail. We are on YouTube.
Wow.
As you know, I know it's new for us. Let us
into
colonize
uncharted
YouTube.
territories for us. Will we die of dysentery? No,
Will we die of dysentery? Well, we'll
no
die
one knows.
Comments.
I know.
So, yes, as you know, in 2025, Go Touch Grass is pivoting to video, not moving. We will still always have our audio episodes up on Wednesdays, but starting in 2025, we will get full video episodes of our podcast uploaded for your viewing pleasure. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have 18 subscriptions right now. We can get it up to more. I promise we can get it up. We can double
Clock
it.
it.
Triple it
We
up.
started at 18. We'll see where we're at the end of 2025.
At the end of 2025, we'll see where we're at. Alise, do you have a goal in mind of how many subscribers?
Our Shannon Sharp numbers.
Our Shannon Sharp number. Our Club Shay Shay numbers.
Our Club Shay Shay numbers. You know, YouTube is such an uncharted territory for me. Like, I have never been a YouTube girly. So I feel like I don't know how quickly subscribers build in a YouTube scenario.
Well, let us be record breaking.
Let us be record breaking. I'm going to say I would love for us to have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
By the end of 2025?
Let's see.
I feel put it out there. I feel like we could get there.
I feel like we could get there.
Absolutely. You know, and also always look, we appreciate everyone who's loving us, who's fucking with us now. The thing is, we have something in our hearts that we want to share, and we don't care with how many people we share it with. That's what we have, and that's what we're doing it. And even if we have 5,000, 10 million, whatever, the only difference in content is how much time we get to dedicate to it and how much time, whatever. But we're still out here for everyone who's fucking with us from day one. If you want to be a pioneer, you want to be one of the people that came from the top.
The founding father of Grass Nation.
Founding father of Grass Nation. Be our 20th subscriber. Be our 25th. Be our 50th. Be our 1,000th. Baby, let's go. This is like an MLM, but instead of shitty leggings, you get content about celebrities.
Yeah. And our memes and review episode is up there now. So you could be like, you know what? I want to see their faces as they're remembering what it was like to go through Haktua for the first time. That's up there. And guess what?
Now. I'll just say this. Alise is a very generous editor. She will edit out things that make it sound stupid, not me. Not me. I keep all that shit in there.
See, that is the thing, is that the audio is definitely a more cleaned up version of the episode.
Millie's sloppy.
You will see
Millie's
us
messy.
stumbling. You will see us not knowing what word to use. You will see us saying things that really don't make any sense for a while, and then at the end it gets to the part that makes sense, and so usually I'll clean it up to the end. Not on the video.
No,
Video, you're getting it all.
Keep it in. Millie will keep it in. Millie will add in sound effects. Millie will add in pictures. Millie's doing all that kind of stuff. Alise is the generous, thoughtful editor. Millie's sloppy. So, and I'm
Millie's mess.
Millie's
that's the
mess.
thing.
So,
even if you've listened to the audio, go see what's on the video and be like, oh, they cut out Alise not knowing math for 20 minutes. No, I left it not knowing math.
Okay. But that video's pretty good.
Of me being like, yeah, you're right. The math is wrong.
The math is not indeed mathing. So again, audio on Wednesdays, videos on Saturdays. That's what we're putting out into the universe. Let's hope it sticks. We're going to get right into the discourse because Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus fucking Christ. You guys, as soon as this discourse dropped, Millie and I were like, thank God we're on break, because you said it to me. Because I was like, oh my God, we're going to have to talk about this on the pod. And you were like, I think it's good that we're on break because more stuff is going to keep coming out and like dust needs to settle on this. And you, as you often are.
As I often am.
100% correct. 100% correct.
Because look, the discourse today, naturally we took a break from this pod for the holidays. And of course, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. Elon saying crazy shit.
Lily J's got her essay in the cut. Matt Gates is Matt Gates' Venmo's dropped. We're like, what the fuck? Matt Gates'
Venmo's dropped. We didn't even get to, Alise, I know you know nothing about the half-off flights Facebook groups. I know you know nothing about the half-off flights.
I know nothing about that.
And maybe that'll be Grasshole next week because we're talking about Chase Bank scams. Like, it's that level of stupidity.
Okay.
We're going to jail, but we haven't even got to any of that.
We can't.
But we got so many requests during the break of like, Merry Christmas. Oh, you guys going to talk about this? Are you guys going to talk about this?
Hey, Happy New Year. Have you seen the lawsuits?
So if you don't know what we're talking about, look, first of all, if you're new, welcome to the mess. On our August 26, 2024 episode, we dove into the drama between actor, director, producer Justin Baldoni and actress Blake Lively over the premiere of the movie adaptation of Colin Hoover's novel, It Ends With Us. So I'm going to quickly recap what we talked about in that August 26th episode and then talk about what has happened since. So to recap with broad strokes, Justin Baldoni, a self-identified and branded feminist with many feminist projects and many things that are aimed to empower women, produced this movie by a book by Colleen Hoover, and Colleen pushed Blake Lively to be the lead actress of this movie. It's about a woman who's a florist surviving domestic violence with this guy.
And her name is Lily Blossom Bloom.
Already red flag. So the fallout began to happen when people noticed that the whole cast of It Ends With Us unfollowed Justin Baldoni on Instagram, and then people noticed that Justin wasn't pictured with any of the other castmates at any of the other events. Then news came out that Blake and Justin had tension on set, and this fit into the narrative that she has been a difficult person to work with. So Justin's not in anything. They're concluding that there was tension. Then everyone started kind of being like, well, it's Blake's fault, including us. Us.
We were very pro Baldoni in that episode, and I'm not I'm not going to try to backtrack. We're not backtracking.
But again, people made that conclusion from the fallout of the thing, and people also started to piece together interviews where multiple former castmates said she was a bitch. Again, the picture started to form of Blake being difficult. people also started to notice that the marketing of the film was off. The film, the book, the story is about surviving domestic violence. What was happening with the marketing was that they tried to market a rock your florals and grab your girlfriends kind of thing to go to the theater type of approach that was similar to the launch of Greta Gerwig's Barbie. They tried to tie It Ends With Us with Deadpool versus Wolverine, which came out last year, which is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's movie that they starred in. And because of that, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were heavily involved with the film's marketing in a way that seemed off. Again, Ryan Reynolds was holding press interviews and interviewing other stars and doing like things, so it wasn't just like one thing came out about Blake and people were piecing things together. And people were uncomfortable with the fact that Blake tried to tie this film's release with both her canned cocktail line and the launch of her hair care line. And she, at the press events and stuff, tried to like market them, and subsequently both brands flopped. Personally, for me, for Millie Tamaras, the narrative that Blake was difficult to work with / made weird marketing choices was easy for me to believe, because that was consistent with a lot of past behavior I've heard. I've also heard great things from her from people who know her too. But most notably, she got married on a fucking slave plantation. So, like, it's not giving somebody you know what I mean? So
who's super thoughtful.
It's super thoughtful, thinking about the public, whatever, versus, Justin Baldoni, who had this more public conscious presence, right? So as a result, Blake was canceled, if you can call that. To be transparent, me and Alise were at an event in November with someone who worked with Justin Baldoni in a creative capacity. They said that Justin Baldoni could be difficult to, they allege, their opinion, that Justin Baldoni could be a difficult person to work with.
They didn't have nice stuff to say about him. We'll say that.
Well, they didn't have nice stuff to say about him. It was disappointing, but again, that spoke to my desire and the public's desire for like, okay, one person's bad, one person's good. But kind of after the information that me and Alise got off the record, what we've concluded off the record was that, like, okay, it seems like he kind of sucked and Blake kind of sucked, and perhaps that this, Alise described it so well, as a suck-off.
Yes. We think that this potentially, we said, this could be a suck-off.
Yeah. Because I'm like, damn, like, Blake sucks, like, but then to hear that Justin could, and again, this person worked with Justin on a different project. The context was completely different. Who knows? Blah, blah, blah. This is all speculation, all my opinion. But it's just to say, like, that is what we heard off the record. So it's not like, Justin's a perfect angel already going into the new updates. Anything else about like the everything between August and November about your feelings about Blake or anything like that? Because we'll get to everything from December on.
Okay. I'm trying to put myself in the headspace because I was definitely, you guys can go back and listen to the episode. I came down on the side of Baldoni. Pretty much the thing that was really spurring that for me at the time was the marketing campaign. I did, and I continue to find choices for the marketing campaign to be bizarre. The wear your florals, all of that stuff. It seemed strange to me to do that with this movie because I talk about it in that episode, I had read the book, so I was aware of what the actual subject matter is. And I found
steampunk florist,
steampunk florist, Lily Blossom Bloom falls in love with a guy named, but all the names in it are crazy, but her ultimate love is a guy named Atlas. Anyway, the point is, I found the marketing campaign strange. And so when all the other stuff was coming out and coming around, it made it all easier for me to believe the narrative that was like, okay, Justin Baldoni really actually understands the movie and Blake doesn't. And that's why there's this disparity in the marketing. We'll get to what's come out since. Now I feel slightly differently about why that marketing disparity was the case, but I still do think that was a very weird choice to do marketing in the way that they did it. And I think in particular to try to tie in your alcohol brand when alcohol is like a huge contributing factor to domestic violence and abuse. I think that as far as like things that have come out since that we'll get into, I still feel that way about the marketing campaign.
Yeah. And just personally, like bigger strokes again, like I think that we did come hard, like for Justin, but where we were hard on Blake Lively. Personally, I have a different thing, and we'll talk about that. But like, I just want to make sure, and I think that this is something that is not really encouraged in our society of like the ability to be wrong or to be like, okay, get more information and make a different conclusion. I do think that's possible. I don't think me and you are like that. You know, again, Chase Lounge, like,
yeah, we'll be corrected.
Like, we'll be corrected. I have no problem.
Millie will say 12 times 5 is 60, Alise, and I'll say, so
You're
it is.
Right.
So it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So again, but I just want to say, like, I think that the way that this has rolled out is trying to capitalize on this way of people being like, oh my God, this is right and oh, whiplash, you know, and like confusion and all that stuff. And like, I think approaching things with a level head, taking a step back and seeing who benefits from certain narratives is the way that you have to approach this thing. And like, probably a good thing to approach like all media narratives and stories.
Yeah, I think that's so spot on. And it's something as we go through how much has come out and how much has changed and everything. This definitely for me, it made me really think about, because we are a podcast that talks about things in real time with the information that we have in real time. And watching this entire thing unfold for me, I'm like, oh, I need to be a little more in tune, especially when we're talking about celebrities. Like when we're not like influencers, whatever, when we're talking about celebrities who have fucking teams and PR people and all, like the episode was called It Ends with PR. And I'm like,
wow,
I'm going to be a little more plugged into what a PR machine does and is capable of, because there's some stuff that I guess in my back of my head, I knew people were doing, but to see it laid out the way it's laid out in the lawsuits that we're going to get to, for me, I was like, oh, I need to be more tapped into these aspects of the shit that we talk about on here.
You just need to know that like everything you read online isn't automatically true either way. You know? So, okay, so let's talk about it. Blake's lawsuit. So on December 21st, Blake filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni, Wayfair Studios, his crisis PR team, the agency group, Melissa Nathan, and others for sexual harassment, retaliation, and more. Blake claimed that a meeting took place in early January 2024 to address the hostile work environment that had almost derailed the film, quote. She accused Justin Baldoni and lead producer Jamie Heath of, quote, repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behavior, including unwanted improvised kissing from Baldoni. According to the complaint, the actor had a number of requirements in order for her to continue to work on the film. So again, what happened was the film started filming, and then both the strikes happened, the actor strike and the writer strike. So it was on break for a few months. And then when they were trying to come back in January 2024, Blake's like, I'm not coming back unless you guys do all this shit. And I think she sent this to Sony. Again, you can read this whole lawsuit at the New York Times. Like they have the PDF up of the lawsuit. And it's 80 pages.
Yeah. If you want to read more in 2025, you can start one of your goals is you can read this lawsuit.
So there was like a bunch of demands. This thing was like this document was like pretty long of like the demands that Blake had. But notably, no more showing nude videos or images of women, including producer's wife, to Lively and her employees. We'll come back to that because that's important. No more mention of Baldoni or Heath's previous pornography addictions. We'll come back to that. No more discussions to Lively and her employees about personal experiences with sex. We'll come back to that. No more descriptions of their own genitalia to Lively.
Sorry,
come back to that.
Just ridiculous.
And no more mention by Baldoni of him speaking to Lively's late father. Lively alleges that after Sony Pictures approved her request, Baldoni hired a special team and began a campaign to destroy her reputation. The actor, the filing states, suffered a substantial harm caused by this malicious campaign, which pervaded and continues to pervade all aspects of Miss Lively's life. Immediately after the complaint, the New York Times published a report by Megan Twohey, Mike McIntyre, and Julie Tate. And I think Megan and Julie were the ones that wrote the Harvey Weinstein takedown.
Yeah, so, they're in that. Carrie Mulligan plays her.
Yeah, okay. Mulligan plays Megan Twohey. What exactly are we looking at here? So the article titled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." Basically, what they did was share private messages that detailed an alleged campaign to tarnish Blake Lively after she accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us, right? So, Lively's 80-page filing includes excerpts of thousands of pages of text messages and emails between Baldoni, public relations executive Jennifer Abel, and crisis management expert Melissa Nathan.
Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, they are the Johnny Depp PR crisis managers, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So, according to the Times, and this is the Times likes to note that Nathan has previously worked for high-profile figures, including Johnny Depp and rappers Drake and Travis Scott. Three very controversial figures who have had really big PR crises where they were bad. The message exchanges included in the filing allegedly show how the trio thought to create a plan to, quote, to deal with the speculation on social media and control the narrative, providing, quote, protection to Baldoni. He wants to feel like Lively can be buried, Abel wrote to Nathan. And Nathan wrote, we can bury anyone, which is where the New York Times came up with their headline.
Mm-hmm.
The complaint also states that on August 4th, Abel texted Nathan stating, quote, "I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with, just to get ahead of it." Nathan responded, "Same," and indicated that she has already spoken to certain media outlets. Around 2 weeks later, per the filing, Nathan shared an article headlined, "Blake Lively is set to be canceled," which was an article by the Daily Mail. So Nathan sent that to Abel, and then Abel was like, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece," Abel replied. And then Nathan says, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Mm-hmm. Lively also claims that once the press tour began for the film, Baldoni stepped away from the plan the team originally agreed upon, focusing on female trauma instead of female triumph. The other cast members and author started doing promotional events without Baldoni. Baldoni's team repeatedly wanted to get ahead of fans who were questioning why Baldoni was not promoting with the rest of them. This is when Baldoni reportedly hired Melissa Nathan of the agency Group PR to work on a retaliation campaign against Lively, making a plan for possible scenarios if Lively spoke out against Justin. Jed Wallace was then hired. Wallace worked on a social media strategy to garner support for Baldoni and his work on the film. Quote, "The narrative online is so freaking good and fans are really sticking up for Justin, and there literally has been no pickup of those two articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success, as does Justin," publicist Jennifer Abel reportedly wrote in a text message to Nathan. In a statement to the New York Times, Lively says, "I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak out about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted." The complaint details how the smear campaign affected Lively's new hair care line and how, quote, "the record-breaking sales plummeted 56% to 78% after the backlash." Just to summarize everything I just read, Blake made this 80-page complaint, not lawsuit. It became a lawsuit later, basically saying that because she said Justin can't harass me on set anymore, they fucking ruined her life. They made all this PR and did all these dirty moves to try to get people to be like, Blake sucks. And that is all. And none of that would have happened if it wasn't for Justin Baldoni purposefully doing this. So what is your reaction to the lawsuit? Like,
Okay.
we're just going to do the lawsuit, not
Just
reactions to the lawsuit? Just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I have to like keep
And
putting
then they-
myself into the places of like, okay, when I knew this information. So this information comes out.
You were shook by it. I remember
I
you
was
were
shook. I was shook, and I was like, okay, I believe that the broad strokes of what she's saying happened on set did happen, just because for it to like become an agreement that went to Sony and all of this stuff. And it makes me feel a little differently about the fact that the cast wasn't doing anything with him. So I kind of, and plus our little tea on the side about what he's like to work with, I'm like, okay, I bet he was being an asshole on the set of this movie. I think it's the stuff that is laid out, like where it's like he pretended he could talk to her dead dad. I mean, that's
Yeah, but like, I mean, personally, that is weird, less damning though to me than the allegations of intimacy, like lack of intimacy coordinators touching and like walking in on her thing. But to me, that's just like, that's a weird, like, actory.
Yeah, it's just
they're just behaviors that actors do, and like they think they're so fucking smart. Like,
no, that's different. It is different. I think that the stuff that is more sinister to me is the stuff about just like talking about porn, talking about your dick, like all these sexual conversations, especially because of Justin Baldoni's whole thing of like, I'm a feminist and like I understand, and like having that Better Man podcast and stuff. It's like, he is straight up someone who should know you do not need to be describing your penis to people or showing pictures of Nate. Like you don't need to be having sexual conversations with your co-stars of any nature, really, especially if you haven't built a strong friendship relationship with them. Obviously, film sets are a little different, whatever, but at the end of the day, you're the director of this film. It's a film about domestic violence. You're supposed to be Mr. Feminism. You should know not to do this stuff. So I definitely feel that way about those parts of the lawsuit. Where it still does not get me is I do feel like the Blake complaint was trying to say that I was locked into marketing it as a story about female triumph, and he decided to do something else, and that's why everyone was mad at me about the marketing. And I'm like, you could have marketed it as a story about female triumph without tying in your alcohol line and your hair care brand and saying all this wear your store, and saying all the wear your floral stuff. That doesn't hold water to me. But the other part of it that just really got me and really had me like thinking a lot, like as I was saying, just like really thinking about how I'm receiving media and stuff, is to see the way a PR machine, which, we mentioned in our original episode, he hired the PR firm for Johnny Depp. But I think in my mind, I had this idea of like, yeah, but lawyers have to represent everybody. PR crisis but it's not. I'm kind of realizing that I was putting like a lawyery sheen on it when it's really not. It's like, no, this is a PR crisis firm that actually specializes in men who have complaints against women and trying to fuck up the reputations of the women that they have complaints against. Like, that's kind of their specialty. And it was just so interesting with the text of it all to see. Obviously, I know that stories can be planted somewhere like the Daily Mail, but there's a part where they're talking about seeding stories on Reddit, and that like they have a guy who can go on Reddit and like stir up conversations on Reddit. And so that's what I found the most interesting revelations about what Blake is putting forward, is like the way that an outside PR firm can take a conversation that is real. I'm not saying this stuff is fake. Blake did get married on a plantation. Blake Lively does have a history of being considered difficult to work with. They did have a cringy marketing campaign for this. Like, there were legitimate, actual things people were complaining about. But what this PR firm was able to do is to like flame that fire in a major, major way and make sure like, okay, these guys are going to make sure that we're picking up this conversation, and then we're going to make sure that this is being talked about on Reddit in this way. And then there's that super famous video by that journalist, Christy Flaw or whatever.
Yeah, we're going to get to that too.
She put out that video of Blake, and then it turns out that she's been a pro Johnny Depp person. There's no way to connect the two, actually. Like, there's no, like, that's, there's no evidence that they, like, paid her to put that video out or whatever. But it is just interesting. I think you get this sense that stuff on social media and stuff that goes viral is organic, but actually a PR firm can go in and be like, okay, see these conversations that are happening? We're going to amp these up to 100. We're going to make sure that influencers post about these. We're going to make sure these make it to Reddit. We're going to make sure that these get written up in other articles. So it was like, that was what was so interesting to me. And then it was also just kind of even reflecting on my own self to be like, oh shit, some of these opinions that I have that I even agree with, that I still agree with. I still think the marketing campaign was wild, but some of those were also handpicked for me by a PR crisis team. Like a PR crisis team wanted to make sure that I heard this information, and I did. That's something that gave me pause reading complaint number 1.
I just feel like, yeah, that is the job of PR crisis of PR firms in general. They highlight certain things of like, we want people to know that this company is woman owned and blah, 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 and whatever. Like that is what PR is.
Yeah.
So I think the Reddit things of somebody going on Reddit and being like, I met Blake once and she was a bitch, like, and that being fake, that is creepy and weird and stuff. But I'm also just like, part of it is like, yeah, I mean, it's pay to play.
Yeah.
Like, that is a vehicle, like a thing that people use. Like that is a tool that people use. So after this came out, there was mass support for Blake, which was, that thing was really what got me. Was I feel like the immediate reaction was people feeling bad for Blake and feeling that they were, quote, Amber Hearded again, which I don't really love as a way to like describe this, but that's how people were feeling, of like, oh, the media and like everyone hates women and it's all misogyny. It's all misogyny, 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 right? And a few people came out in support of Blake Lively publicly. So, including the Sisterhoods of the Traveling Pants.
The sisters, they put those pants back on. They put those pants back on, and they said, don't talk about our girl.
And in a joint statement released on Instagram, Fiera, Tamblyn, and Bedell showed support for Lively. Quote, and this is what they said: as Blake friends and sisters for over 20 years, we stand with her in solidarity as she fights back against a reported campaign waged to destroy her reputation, the statement reads. Throughout the filming of It Ends With Us, we saw her summon the courage to ask for a safe workplace for herself and colleagues on set, and we are appalled to read the evidence of a premeditated, vindictive effort that ensued to discredit her voice. Most upsetting is the unabashed exploitation of domestic violence survivor stories to silence a woman who asks for safety. The hypocrisy is outstanding. We are struck by the reality that if a woman is as strong, celebrated, and resourced as our friend Blake, she can face forceful retaliation for daring to ask for a safe working environment. We are inspired by our sister's courage to stand up for herself and others. For anyone seeking more information or engaging in this important conversation online, please read the full legal complaint in the investigative reporting by Megan Toohey, Mike McIntyre, and Julie Tate for the New York Times. Very interesting, right? I have to say, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants came out 2005, and the sequel 2008. Very interesting. They had to go back that long to get people to say nice shit.
Yeah,
but
I don't see Leighton Meester saying nothing. She was at the Golden Globes yesterday looking amazing. She's not saying shit.
Well, so we had the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants people, Paul Feig from A Simple Favor, and then Colleen Hoover in her story wrote, at Blake Lively, you've been nothing but honest, kind, and supportive and patient since the day we met. Thank you for being exactly the human that you are. Never change, never wilt.
Little Blossom Bloom reference there. Little
Blossom Bloom.
Little wear your florals.
Yeah. So again, this is all to reiterate that like the most damning things about Justin was that Justin made comments about her weight, made her uncomfortable, denied an intimacy coordinator, showed nude photos of the producer's wife, and again, mentioning a porn addiction. We will get back to all of that. But again, it was like, you hit me up. And again, like, I understand, like, the article really shook people. And I feel like it got people again to 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 speaking about this is misogyny. This only worked because everyone hates women. Justin's fake. The New York Times release got all these women to come out in support of Blake Lively, including like regular women. And this was the narrative. So I'm going to show a TikTok from this woman at Hey, It's KB, just to get like a tone of like, what was the conversation like on the internet around the time that this came out. So this says, my thoughts on this, hashtag Blake Lively, hashtag lawsuit, hashtag trending, hashtag FYP, hashtag protect victims.
So not that anybody will like, see this or, probably care or whatever. I didn't really need to hear much more about the, lawsuit that Blake Lively filed against Justin Baldoni and his business partner. I didn't go much further and past the fact that they entered her dressing room in various states of undress and while she was nursing her baby. Because I've had that happen to me. I was pumping while I was at work and I had a sign with big ass letters that said, pumping, do not enter. And there was a worker that was like a contractor that came in anyway. I was like, oh, sorry. I'm like, yeah, dude, sorry, you can't fucking read. But anyway, that's just too specific. Like, why would somebody make that up? And just, the list of other things. Like, in my book, when it comes to SA or SH, you are guilty until proven innocent. And I feel really bad that Blake had to go through all of that. And people wonder why Ryan Reynolds got involved and was on set and, he's overstepping and he's doing this and that. I wonder why. He was protecting his wife and, doing what he needed to do as a husband. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Thoughts?
My overarching agreement is like, I do agree that the things that are outlined in the complaint that Blake says happened. I know that we will get Justin's side of those things happening, but I'm putting myself in I'm trying to like stay in the chronological whatever. I struggle with the Ryan Reynolds of it all. On the one hand, I'm like, it does make sense to me for him as kind of a powerful power player in Hollywood if his wife is experiencing sexual harassment and weird behavior on set, for him to show up and be around. And I don't think it's that strange for him to be like on the red carpet with her. What's strange is the Wolverine Deadpool tie-in stuff. Like, there's just, I feel like, and this is something that I was talking to you about even when it first came out, is like, there's a couple different things that are going on here. And I think that one element of what's happening is that Blake is trying to create a new narrative around why the marketing campaign was so poorly received. And I just don't think that any of the things in the complaint or any of that stuff actually does that. I think that it is still weird that they did it like a rom-com. I think it is still in poor taste for her to tie it to an alcohol brand. I think that she could have found ways to appropriately mention, I used my hair care line during the filming of this movie. I think there's a way to like appropriately talk about that in certain interviews. I think there's a way to appropriately have your husband around. But I think there's a level of this complaint that is them shooting back and forth at each other about how the marketing got out of hand. And I don't think that any of the stuff in the Blake suit actually addresses that. Because I've seen people online be like, well, she was contractually obligated. And I'm like, no, she was contractually obligated to do marketing and to try to talk about it as like a story of triumph. She was not contractually obligated to be like, girlies, get your bestie and grab some of your lively wine and like, that was not contractually obligated. So again, I still feel weird about the marketing. I think that was just a bad choice. I think that was going to be received poorly no matter what. But what the complaint does show is how Baldoni's team was able to see, okay, people are noticing that Justin is not doing events with the rest of the cast. Seems like he didn't make a lot of friends on the set. People were noticing that immediately. But then they were able to also see that people were getting squicked out by this marketing campaign, and they were able to use both, as a crisis PR team does, to create and inflame a narrative that was based in some truth, which is that the marketing campaign was not well thought out on the Lively side. Maybe Baldoni would have been doing more stuff like that if they hadn't had this falling out and all of that shit. But I remember, like, my take at the beginning was, oh, Justin Baldoni has a better grasp on feminism, and that's why he's promoting the movie in this way. And now it's like, I kind of actually still think that's what happened, but in a more sinister way. He and his team were able to, they did notice, oh shit, look at how the conversation is happening. Oh shit, look what we can do. It wasn't actually coming from this place that I originally thought of like deep concern for victims of domestic violence.
I don't know. I would say it's kind of split in the middle between that and, we'll get into like why I think so. But I just feel like it's split in the middle between like a sinister thing and like whatever because of information I found. We'll move on, right?
Yeah, we got to keep going.
But I agree with you that like some shit happened that made Blake uncomfortable, whatever. I'm not even doubting that. I'm not doubting, like, I just feel like I'm not doubting any of these stories. But I think that the narrative and the things that were pitched by the complaint was that every negative thing about Blake on the internet was implanted by Justin's PR team as retaliation for Blake saying, like, don't do this shit on set, That is their narrative, right?
Yes.
So what happens is that shit is fishy. All of Blake's stuff came out the Friday before Christmas, which again, basically that Friday before Christmas is like, no one's fucking working. No one's doing everything. Like it's technically the holidays. And for that to come out right then, I had my tinfoil hat on because it was around when that fucking movie came out on Netflix too, which was like whatever, right? So it was interesting for it to come out on a Friday afternoon, and then also like before Christmas. Justin's lawyer wrote this statement. It's shameful that Ms. Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Baldoni, Wayfair Studios, and its representatives as yet another desperate attempt to, quote, fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film, interviews, and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions. These claims are completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media. Wayfair Studios made the decision to proactively hire a crisis manager prior to the marketing campaign of the film to work alongside their own representative with Jones Works employed by Stephanie Jones due to the multiple demands and threats made by Lively during production, which included her threatening to not show up to set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading to its demise during release if her demands were not met. It was also discovered that Miss Lively enlisted her own representative, Leslie Sloan, with Vision PR, who represents Mr. Reynolds, to plant negative and completely fabricated and false stories with the media, even prior to any marketing had commenced for the film, which was another reason why Wayfair Studios made the decision to hire a crisis professional to commence internal scenario planning in the case they needed to address. The representatives of Wayfair Studios did nothing proactive nor retaliated, and not only responded to incoming media inquiries to ensure balanced and factual reporting and monitor social activities. What is pointedly missing from the cherry-picked correspondence is the evidence that there were no proactive measures taken with media or otherwise, just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize, which is a standard operating procedure with PR relations professionals. Again, we got to take this with a grain of salt because it is his lawyer. He's always going to say like it's positive, but it is interesting, which is what, we're going to come back to of like, basically Miss Lively threatened multiple times during production that she's not going to come and she's not going to show up and she's not going to promote the film if shit doesn't go her way, which hearing this in context, like this was released right when the New York Times released their thing.
So my thing with this statement is my biggest takeaway from it is I definitely think whatever it is that actually went down on this set, Justin Baldoni got majorly spooked that negative stories were going to come out about him. And that's why he hired a crisis PR team. It could be for the reasons that are listed here, that Blake was like, I'm going to come for you. It could just be that he saw writing on the wall because of clearly, I mean, again, if like they had to come to an agreement about sexual harassment related things, he might have just been on his toes in general because he's like, fuck, if she decides to make this public, I'm going to be in a bad place, etc. The thing that I really don't buy from this statement is just him at the end being like, no proactive measures were taken. And I'm like, well, in the text, it says, here's an article. We got the article published. Have you talked to this guy at the Daily Mail? Look, he published it. Our Reddit guy is on Reddit. So I am like, proactive measures were taken.
I guess what the lawyer is saying, and my conclusion is, according to Blake, she said this shit in January. I'm not going to come if you guys don't follow these things. She said everything negative that happened to her was because Justin didn't, because she wrote that statement, and it's a retaliation to that. So if it was proactive, it would happen in February or March, but him hiring people was only after he was getting cut out from shit and kicked out of the premiere and all that stuff. He did that to protect himself. Again, like, I'm not saying that just Blake is guilty, Justin's innocent. I'm just saying that if Blake's whole thing was that this was in retaliation because she called him out, these texts and the strategy would come March, June, July, like before the movie even came out. Whereas there are texts, which we're going to get to, there are texts from Blake's PR person saying shit about Justin to the Daily Mail, to the thing, before the movie even came out. That's what the lawyer's saying.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like, the vibe I got from this is we didn't actually do anything. We were just discussing what we would do.
Of course.
And I'm like, well, you guys did make sure that these stories, like, let's be for real. You guys, whatever time period it happened on, you guys definitely made sure negative stories about Blake were getting seen in the press and stuff. Like, your PR machine was put to work. Now, I do think, going back to the suck off of it all, I think whatever was going on the set of this movie, and again, I do believe Blake Lively when she says sexual harassment was taking place, by the time this movie was wrapped and in editing, I think Baldoni and Blake Lively knew that the suck off was coming, and they were both preparing and arming themselves for it to arrive.
Okay, so let me just make these 2 points, and then we're going to get to the next level of the suck off, because basically, I'm going to say that the suck off, you're saying that they were preparing. I'm saying the suck off was the whole thing with editing, with everything. From the moment they both came on, it was a suck off.
Yeah.
And this is a continuation of that. Basically, what I want to say is Flaw came out and she said, her quote nightmare 2016 interview with Lively, where, okay, first of all, if we're being honest, again, it's not just that Blake Lively got fucking was, with the plantation. Blake Lively worked with fucking Woody Allen in 2016, 2017 and said he was great and he was wonderful and it was amazing. So, you know what I mean? Again, not someone who's thoughtful, not someone whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, let's pause. And again, I think the 2016 interview was for a Woody Allen movie. This is where Flaw said that she would never take money to jeopardize my integrity as a journalist. Like, she has nothing to do with any Baldoni campaign. Some people have stated these conspiracies that I'm connected to the campaign against Blake Lively, and that's not true. That's what Flaw said, right? So they talked about Jed Wallace in Blake's suit, and they also brought up all these examples of people who they're like, and this was a coordinated effort to target Blake, and this was a coordinated effort to promote Justin Baldoni, and this. And what happened was this TikTok from @thickJewishGirl was one of them that claimed that it was like part of Justin's positive PR. And then she made a statement, so I'm just going to share it.
I found out that Blake Lively included me in her lawsuit documentation when all these news outlets started to DM me. Everything I'm about to tell you is based off of what I witnessed and what I experienced. I had no part in making this movie. I have no idea what happened on set. I don't know what he went through. I don't know what she went through. This is just what I witnessed. If you don't already know, I was mentioned in Blake Lively's lawsuit to Justin Baldoni. I made a video in August. I will go ahead and pin it for now. Here's what happened. One of my mom's friends owns the production company with Justin that produced this movie. I was a big fan of the book. I was really excited about the movie, so my mom included me in going to the premiere with her. This premiere was in a small suburb of Chicago, and there were not a ton of people there. After the movie was over, Justin came in and the director came in, and they just kind of talked about their movie and the experience. Justin talked about all the research that he had done to make this movie as authentic as possible. You guys can decide if it was authentic or not. Don't come for me. He talked about how he attended counseling sessions of men who were abusers so that he could understand his part in the movie more. He talked about how he partnered with counselors and support systems for women who have experienced domestic violence so that he could really, show the support and be able to give a more authentic take. He also talked about how he could never understand what it feels like to be a woman in this situation. He said, I don't know what it's like to have to carry pepper spray to get to my car and, all of that kind of stuff, which I really appreciated hearing him say. When I met him, he was nothing but kind. And I just happened to notice that in Blake Lively's interviews, she never mentioned domestic violence, which pissed me off. So in my video that is referenced, I talked about that. No, I was not paid to smear her. I wasn't even asked to post about the movie. Literally just a girl.
Did they say in the article this was a paid-for thing, or were they including it as like these are examples of stuff that's being posted about Blake on social media?
I think from what I saw, it was like this is part of the campaign because she made her video that was like, I went to the thing. Justin's awesome. I also think it's weird that Blake is not talking about this. So it was just kind of like, oh, and here's an example of Justin's like PR thing. This girl was paid for to say that Justin was great and Blake sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that just like to put a random TikToker in your complaint and shine a light on that in a way that is going to obviously like blow up their life is definitely fucked up. I mean, I do still think that Justin Baldoni, because he took all this time to become Mr. Feminism, which I don't believe anymore and kind of feel dumb for ever believing that a guy who's like brands himself that way is genuine, because now I'm kind of like, yeah, those guys always end up sucking. But yeah, I think he probably did talk about the movie in a really thoughtful way because he knew I do still think that he is a little bit more savvy about this kind of shit because of the brand he built for himself. When it comes to Christy Flaw or whatever, the one who released the really negative interview about Blake, I don't think that necessarily she was paid, but I think that what the Blake lawsuit showed is just like the sphere of influence that a crisis PR firm can activate without even necessarily needing to pay them. Like this Christy Flaw lady, she fucking was pro Johnny Depp herself. Then like she started trying to just release other interviews with actresses where she was like, see, this one, Anne Hathaway is rude to me. I'm like, I don't really fuck with her in general. She did too much immediately. And I like when she first released the Blake interview, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, she's being super nasty in this probably reminded her. And then when she tried to do it again with Anne Hathaway, and then when it's like, oh, and also she was like doing a bunch of anti-Amber Heard shit, I'm like, well, it seems like this woman just doesn't like other actresses, and I kind of don't understand why you have a career interviewing actresses if you don't like them.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll move on because I want to get to like what I think after all this fucking information that I
know,
because
now there's a whole other lawsuit that's about to come out.
We haven't even talked about the lawsuit. Okay, so Baldoni filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles on Tuesday, December 31st against the New York Times over their coverage of Lively's lawsuit, which is interesting because Lively's filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni and his production company, all those people, but Justin sued the New York Times, which is very interesting. The actor and director claims that the Times relied almost entirely on Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative and disregarded an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motives. The suit said plaintiffs, including Baldoni, his publicist Melissa Nathan, and Jennifer Abel, and producers Jamie Heath and Steve Sourowitz, suffered damages that amounted to at least $250 million. The lawsuit seeks to hold the Times accountable for its role in this defamation campaign, but the plaintiffs are not done, lawyers for Baldoni said. There are other bad actors involved, and make no mistake, this will not be the last lawsuit. The lawsuit argues the Times published a false narrative, again, by cherry-picking content and private communications that weren't intended for outside eyes. He also accused Lively of conducting a hostile takeover of the film in his lawsuit, alleging she tried to assert unilateral control over every aspect of the production through strategic and manipulative methods. The Times has defended its reporting and noted that the organization plans to vigorously defend against the lawsuit. So there are basically like a few, Justin's lawsuit is equally as long. There's a bunch of shit in there, but there's like a few big takeaways. And one, again, that they keep saying is the out of context text. The out of context. And again, the Times story included a text exchange that was part of Lively's complaint. In the text, Nathan and Abel discussed a Daily Mail story which described Lively's promotion of the domestic violence themed film as tone deaf. And then Abel wrote to Nathan, "You really outdid yourself with this piece." And this is what I said. And she said, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." The libel suit said that the Times omitted a text from Nathan preceding the exchange where she said she was uninvolved in the story publication, writing, "Damn, this is unfair because this is also not me." The suit said that the Times also didn't include Abel's use of the upside down face emoji when she wrote, "You really outdid yourself." The suit said the emoji showed the writer was being sarcastic.
Well, to omit the upside down face emoji, that is negligence to me, because when I include an upside down face emoji, that is a crucial part of the message. That is very important. If I'm saying something, and I use upside down smiley face all the time. So if I'm saying something and I put an upside down smiley face on that upside down smiley face was chosen for a reason, and it must be included if you're going to sue me.
And also, like, the thing saying, like, "Damn, this is unfair, this is not me." From what I've seen and what I've gathered is, like, they had this whole plan to, and this is what they're saying, they had this whole plan to bring down Blake Lively, or they were talking about it, but the internet did its shit on its own. And that's the thing is, like, to be compared to Amber Heard is interesting because Amber Heard, like, her allegations were like, she beat the shit out of Johnny Depp, but like Johnny Depp also beat the shit out of her. Like, it was interesting, but it's also like, it was easy to take Blake down because Blake sucks. I was like, this is a suck off. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the Amber Heard comparison is there because it's,
Melissa Nathan.
Melissa Nathan is involved. But it is different because I do feel like, I mean, there clearly was a well of hatred for Amber Heard that I didn't really understand. I mean, I remember the first narrative was this mutual abuse narrative that I was like, okay, this is interesting. What's going on? But I felt like by the end of the Amber Heard trial, I was very like, oh, this woman has been the victim of a smear campaign. But in that, like, I watched that documentary about it, and like, they straight up used bots and stuff in that. Yeah. Like, that the Amber Heard stuff is way crazier than what's being delayed in here.
That's what I didn't like.
I do think there were machinations behind the scenes to make sure that stuff got posted to the right websites and made it to their connections. That's what a PR firm does. So I don't buy their thing that, like, we didn't actually do anything, but I also don't feel like none of the negative stories would have ever come out and nothing bad would have been said about Blake Lively had this firm not been involved. Like, I don't agree with either of those polls, really.
Well, okay, there's more. Okay, so let's talk about the pushback on, because I'm trying to, like, say my thing but not spoil what I'm going to bring up.
I know. It's hard.
It's, like, so hard. It's so hard. Guys, this job is hard. Okay, so the Times story said, for example, that Heath had showed Lively a video of his naked wife. The Baldoni suit said that the video that Heath showed of his naked wife was a home birth. that was discussed in connection with the scene with the movie.
I don't know.
Again,
I'm sorry. I'm going to say, unless I say, please show me the video of your live birth that you have on your phone, I don't know.
And again, I'm not saying I don't believe Blake. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just, personally, it does provide more nuance than like this creepy guy showed me a video versus like, we're talking about births. We're talking about this birth scene. We're talking about blocking. Here, look at my wife. Is that weird? Is that whatever? Yeah, but I'm like, it just adds more nuance and it makes it less whatever.
It is different to say, like, he showed me a video of his naked wife. That is one thing. For him to be like, he showed me a video of his wife giving birth. That's a different thing, but it's also still a very weird thing to do.
The libel suit also denied that Baldoni and Heath repeatedly entered Lively's trailer uninvited while she was undressed and while she was breastfeeding, and that she considered certain sex scenes gratuitous, as the Times story reported, citing the CRD complaint. Baldoni's suit said Lively breastfed in their presence. It also shared a text message that was like, hey, do you want to run lines? And Blake Lively's like, sure, come in, I'm just pumping. Does that mean that he has permission to always enter when she's pumping or whatever? No. Does that mean that she never was uncomfortable with him, whatever, pumping? No. But does it does provide nuance of like, it's not like you've kind of set the precedent and you have proof saying, just come in while I'm pumping. And then another thing was, she was like, he didn't have an intimacy coordinator. There was no intimacy coordinator. There was a text message in Baldoni's suit that said that before production, he's like, hey, so the intimacy coordinator's here if you want to meet her and like talk things through. And she said, I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you, though.
That to me is one of the more damning things in Baldoni's shot back. I am like, well, it is fucked up to be like, there wasn't good intimacy coordination. And then to have texts that are like, it's fine, I'll meet her on set. Like that point for in the Baldoni corner, I guess, on that.
Yeah. So the Times reported that Lively presented the letter to the movie's producers in November 2023 that sought safeguards on the set before shooting would begin. Baldoni's suit said the letter was never presented to Wayfair. No such document was ever presented to Baldoni, the Wayfair team, to their knowledge, anyone else, whether during that meeting or any other time, and therefore could not have been agreed to.
Yeah, that I don't believe. I'll go out and say I don't believe that, because he hired a crisis PR team and clearly he was worried about something.
But the crisis PR team was hired in August after like all the unfollowing shit.
Yeah, but I think that he was like, the unfollowing shit, I feel like was related to this as well. Like, I think that he was clearly very worried about something coming out about himself. And it also just doesn't make sense to me that a document like that would be made, but it wouldn't go to
Justin. So here's the last piece, and then I'm going to share this piece, and then I'm going to share like my thoughts. I know this has been going so long, but guys, this is so much information.
There's a lot. There were 3 lawsuits.
There's 3 fucking lawsuits. Okay. What Justin says was Lively was the bully / in charge of smear campaigns. So in Lively's CRD complaint, she said Justin, quote, abruptly pivoted away from this film's marketing plan days before its release as part of a multi-tiered plan to, quote, using social manipulation to ultimately destroy her public reputation. Baldoni said it was the other way around. He said in the suit, as well as in a statement going to the Times, that he and his company hired a PR firm to protect himself, with Lively's PR going on the attack against him. The suit claimed that Lively's PR hire, Leslie Sloan, planted stories critical of Baldoni, included the one that he said made Lively uncomfortable on the set. They included texts of Sloan's texting people in the Daily Mail directly and being like, hey, Justin Baldoni is doing this, Justin Baldoni is doing that. And the Daily Mail being like, well, can you get someone on the record? Can you get someone this? And the libel suit described multiple alleged confrontations between Baldoni and Lively's husband, Deadpool star Ryan Reynolds. The suit said Reynolds aggressively berated Baldoni and accused him of fat-shaming Lively during a meeting at the couple's penthouse in the Tribeca neighborhood of New York. Baldoni's suit said that he asked his trainer about Lively's weight because he had back injuries, and wanted to determine if he could safely lift her as directed in the scene. The trainer later shared Justin Baldoni's inquiry with Lively, the suit said. The confrontation that followed was so aggressive that Baldoni felt compelled to offer repeated apologies. In another meeting at the penthouse, which again, them meeting at their penthouse kind of shows a pattern that's what's going to come up of like, everything has to go to the Reynolds. Everything has to go to Ryan and Blake. In another meeting, the suit alleges Reynolds blindsided Baldoni by berating him over a list of grievances and became enraged when Baldoni didn't apologize. Baldoni later called it a traumatic encounter and said others left the meeting in shock, according to this suit. Baldoni's suit further claimed that Reynolds pressured Baldoni's agency, WME, to drop Baldoni, because both Blake Lively and Reynolds are repped by WME. The wielding power and influence became undeniable, the suit said. Baldoni and Wayfarer grew increasingly fearful of what Lively and Reynolds were capable of, as their actions seemed aimed at destroying Baldoni's career and personal life. It's important to note, before I show this last clip, Ryan Reynolds is known as a marketer. He has a lot of fucking brands. He has a lot of things. I believe that if he went to WME and was like, it's either me or Justin, they're going to drop Justin because Ryan Reynolds owns Cricket, Aviation Gin, all this shit, Deadpool, all this, like.
Yeah. I have a friend who booked it was literally like she booked generically a commercial with Ryan Reynolds because he has so many brands and Deadpool does so many tie-ins that literally it was at a studio in Brooklyn, like one of these big like sound stages. And they literally just had Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool costume and they were shooting 12 different commercials for just different products. And they were like, we're going to use you for one of them. Because like that is how much he is doing and how powerful he is they're like, he can be like, you have one day with me in the Deadpool costume. We're going to shoot 12 commercials for all the different tie-in things. And then we're done. Like that is the level of power and like marketing power that Ryan Reynolds has. It's actually crazy.
Okay, and this goes to my thing of like that this was a suck-off. And here's a video by TikToker Zach Peter that shows just that point.
So what was it like working with Blake Lively on the set of It Ends With Us? Justin Baldoni dropped a number of text messages with crew members detailing just how difficult Blake Lively was to work with. Baldoni claims that since day one of production, she tried to push her weight. She would undermine their wardrobe director and make outfit choices of her own. And rather than showing up to her scheduled fittings, she drove up the budget by having them shuttle all of the clothes to her so that she could try them on. She would often rewrite her lines daily, and apparently she was having Ryan Reynolds, who has no official credit on the film, help her rewrite some of the scenes, which was unbeknownst to Baldoni and the screenwriter. She allegedly also inserted herself into the editing room, would have pages of notes, would have the editors fly to her so she could continue making revisions for her own cut. And when she was unhappy, she had the editor and a composer fired from the film. And even though they tested her edit versus Baldoni's edit in front of audiences, and Baldoni's edit ranked higher, she demanded that Sony release her version of the film. She even tried to bully her way into getting a PGA mark, which is a coveted credit for producers, which Baldoni and Jamie Heath were absolutely against. So much so that they still wrote the letter, but also sent a copy to their attorney saying that this letter was written and signed under duress. Because anytime Blake didn't get her way, she would halt production, she would threaten to quit, and she would threaten to not market the film.
This was what was in Justin's lawsuit. Like, you can see those screenshots where it's basically like the costume designer that they hired, the wardrobe person that they hired is like, hey, Blake is kind of taking over. Blake is doing this. Like, and then Justin's talking about like, we spent all this money on our costume person and Blake fucking completely took it over. And that is consistent with what Blake said. You know, was like, I took over the costume. I took over the music. I produced it, even though like she wasn't supposed to be doing that. She was just literally supposed to act and have an exec producer credit. So I feel like Justin's probably weird. He probably said like shit about her dead dad, like in some weird actor Shakespeare bullshit. I bet you the producer was like, come look at like, hey, for this birth scene, like, look at how my wife did it, which is fucking weird. But I also bet that Blake's like, I want to do this. And if you don't, I'm going to fucking quit. And I'm going to fucking quit. And I'm going to fucking quit. Another thing, directors are supposed to have at least 10 days with the editors in the editing bay before anyone else makes their thing. That's why there's called the director's cut, because directors are supposed to have the first cut. That's what they're entitled to creatively. And then everyone else and Hollywood and all the execs. Justin did not get that. Blake went in already. And then when they weren't doing everything that Blake wanted, she got them fired and used Ryan Reynolds people. So, and then that's the cut that we see right now. So this is what I mean. It's like, it's a suck off. I want to hear your thoughts and we can wrap this up.
Okay. My feeling also still that it's a suck off. I think that we have two personalities. We have one who is this guy who sees himself as this like feminist auteur, blah, blah, blah. I think Justin Baldoni has, based on this, a very inflated view of himself, his own artistic vision. And I don't think that his feminist bona fides are actually authentic. So I think we have that in one corner. I think in the other corner, we have an A-list diva celebrity who is, you know, I think that she came into this movie being like, this is my movie, actually. And who the fuck even is Justin Baldoni? And my husband's Ryan Reynolds. And I'm going to get what I want on this movie. And we're going to do it with my hair care line. And I'm going to wear crazy outfits that I choose. And I'm going to make a cut that's worse because it's my cut. And I'm going to make a bunch of choices that actually artistically I think are weird. I actually think the wardrobe was extremely strange in this movie.
It was terrible.
But I'm also, part of me is like, not that any of what Blake was doing, like that is not normal behavior on a set to like subsume the director's role in the way that she did. But there is part of me that's like, yeah, well, Justin Baldoni, you shouldn't have hired Blake Lively then. Like you shouldn't have.
Well, but that was Colleen Hoover's choice. Is what they said.
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, well, you guys got to get together on the same page in some capacity, but also like, even if it's Colleen Hoover's choice, if he has the rights to the film, he could say, because apparently there were things in Blake's complaint that he was like, she's too old for the role, which she actually was based on the book. So it's like, okay, hire a younger actress who's more going to like go along with your artistic vision. Don't hire someone who is, again, part of this branded marketing couple that like is definitely going to shoehorn a bunch of her weird brands in here and is definitely going to be weird about the costuming and all this stuff. And again, it's not like that is not normal, but it is normal for Blake Lively. So I'm kind of like, don't work with Blake Lively if that's not what you want. But also, I do think that we're in a situation where two intense personalities clashed massively. I think Justin Baldoni behaved inappropriately on the set. I think he clocked that, oh shit, Blake has these receipts. We're not getting along. This movie is ending in an acrimonious way. He hired a PR crisis team. I do think they acted preemptively to be like, let's make sure the bad Blake stories are getting more air than the bad Justin stories. That spiraled. And now we're again, it ends with PR. Now we're in the suck off and like, they're going to go back and forth in these complaints. And it really won't be until like actual court shit happens that we know what the full picture is, because Blake's complaint can't be 100% true. Like that's her side of the story. And Baldoni's complaint is his side of the story. And both of those documents are literally created to get their side of the story documented and out in the public. So both of them have a very specific point of view, and you can't take either one as being like gospel truth.
A part of me, like, this is crazy. This is insane. I can't believe this shit. This is so dumb. And a part of me is like, that this is all for that stupid ass fucking
I know,
movie.
for a movie that
terrible.
was like so mid,
A
the
white
most
Tyler Perry
mid
movie.
fucking true. That is exactly what it is, Millie. Like you said that on.
It's a white Tyler Perry movie.
The most mid movie. I think that there were two personalities involved in this that both, again, suck. And then they got in a big fight and they were like, okay, which one of us can use our power to get to bury the other one?
And yeah, and I think that, Justin came in with like, I have my very specific idea. You're a little bit more cynical about his. I do think that like maybe that he thinks he's such an whatever, but I do like, I don't know. Part of me is like, is he the perfect feminist he posts himself to be? I just do know that he has had partnerships with domestic violence things and he has whatever. And I'm like, is it better to try and fail at being a feminist and whatever versus like not being a feminist at all? I don't know. And another thing is, it's like, yeah, because it's like, oh, he's not as he says he's a feminist and then he's still whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm like, he is doing this work. And like a lot of the criticism was like, oh, he only did this because Blake's PR thing was flopping. And it's at a certain point, it's like, babe, that's not Justin's part. That's your fucking part, Leslie. Like if some shit is flopping, then why didn't you guys change it halfway through the campaign? You guys could have shifted and then Justin's shit would have gotten drowned out and there would be no contrast. And that's why it makes me think that she's salty or Blake's salty about the PR thing, because it was probably her fucking idea because she was throwing her weight around. And I'm like, no, I want to make this like, and Ryan probably got an idea of like, this is going to be Barbenheimer, and we're going to do this with Deadpool and we're going to tie in Deadpool as much so it can be this joint thing. And that was their strategy. And that fucking flopped because what the fuck? And they tried to blame it on Justin. But my thing is, did Justin's people like amp that up or whatever? Of course they did. But my thing is also, then you guys should have fucking pivoted. Why didn't you? No one told you not to pivot it. And they never pivoted. They never said, oh, actually, I think like probably like a week or two in, did she like release?
She eventually put like a link to a domestic violence survivors thing in her bio. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that has never rung true to me about all of it is that she's like, we were supposed to promote it as a triumph. I'm like, that doesn't actually account for all the stuff that was weird with the marketing that was a flop. I think everything that has been attributed to her ideas for the movies were all very bad and weird. With Justin, my feeling is that he used feminism to try and seem like a really good guy, but behind closed doors is not practicing what he preached. And that's based on what's in this lawsuit. Like, just, dude, if you are someone who is going around and educating yourself about all of this different stuff, you should know not to like describe your dick to your coworker. Like, let's get fucking real. Or like, you should know not to like hire your friend to be the OBGYN on set and have her in a state of undress. Like, these are things you should know if you're actually like absorbing the stuff that you are claiming to promote in real life. So that's why I'm like, I do not have the same feeling about him that like his shit is genuine. But at the end of the day, I do think this is a PR battle between two kind of shitty people.
Yeah, I think everyone's shitty. And part of me is like, you know what? Make the sequel. Make the fucking sequel. Let's go. Like, let's keep it going. Like, let's all whatever. 350. You're suing New York Times for $250 million. Their box office was 350 million before Netflix bought it. This shit made so much money. And then make a documentary about the behind the scenes after all of this. Like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, that's my cynical, capitalist, stupid fucking brain is like, this is all this drama. You guys both suck. You have met each other's match. And that's why it's annoying. Because usually everyone would no-toe to fucking Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds shit. And then Justin Baldoni will pick obscure people who don't have any power and he'll fucking. So I'm like, you know what? Spy versus spy. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. On to our next segment. Okay, it is time. We have to move on for our first Grasshole of 2025. Today, we are declaring TikTok girlies Kylan and Izzy Darnell Grasshole of the Week. For anyone who is new, Grasshole of the Week is our segment where we declare the person, people, businesses that need to log off the most.
The most.
And this week, it is these two TikTok sisters. So let me just do a little background and then we'll talk about why they're in trouble. So who is Kylan Darnell? Kylan Darnell is a former Miss Ohio Teen USA who became popular. I know. So like if you can picture in your mind a former Miss Ohio Teen USA, that is exactly what Kylan Darnell looks like.
Mm-hmm.
She became popular on Bama Rush TikTok. So for anyone who doesn't know, every year when University of Alabama does its sorority rush, TikTok goes crazy. It's people document their outfits and going to the events and getting in or not getting in and the rush process. And HBO tried to make a documentary about it. And like, it was so bad. And literally none of the people going through rush would talk to HBO about it. So then
Yeah,
sorry,
I heard that it was bad.
Oh, it was extremely bad because no one would talk to this woman. They had like 3 girls going through rush agree to be in the documentary, and midway through, I think 2 of them dropped out because they were like, yeah, no, I think they call it the machine, like Alabama, like the people in charge of Alabama.
Sororities, yeah.
The sororities, but also the school. They were like, they have come down and they've said like anyone who's talking to a documentary about us will be banned from Rush forever. So like 2 of the girls dropped out. And then basically the person who was making the documentary, she has like alopecia totalis, like she's bald, and she had to like pivot the documentary to be like, I realized that in the same way that these girls were rushing to be in sororities, I was rushing my whole life to be in the sorority of people with hair. I was like, girl, just don't even. Babe, you've lost the documentary. You've lost the documentary. If you're trying to now pivot and be like, in many ways, my alopecia is Bama Rush. I'm like, no.
And the rush is all the friends we made along the way.
Anyway, but that's what Bama Rush is. It's a big thing on TikTok every single year. Kind of the first year that it became big, this girl, Kylan Darnell, was one of the main faces of it. And she documented her journey to becoming a member of Zeta Tau Alpha, God bless. Over the course of this, she got over 35 million likes on her videos documenting the process. She gained over 600,000 followers during that time, and she now has 1.1 million followers. So I'm going to show you just like a classic Kylan Darnell video.
Hey y'all, hope you have a great day, not just a good day. We are in a rush because the game starts at 11. We're kind of late. Anyway, my dress is by Revolve, it's Helsa. And then my shoes are these leopard print heels from Zara. Bag is a South Boutique Zeta pin. And then my jewelry's pretty much the same as always. But my makeup is Hair by Asia. Well, makeup by Asia and hair because she did my makeup and hair. She slayed it. I'm so excited. We're going to go beat South Carolina. Anyway, hope you have a great game. Not just a good game. Love ya. Bye.
I'm sorry, getting a makeup artist to go to a football game, I mean, that's so American quoted.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are squarely in white Southern America, rich girl for the rest of the episode. So
yeah,
get into that headspace. So Izzy Darnell is Kylan's little sister. She has 747.3 thousand followers. She went super viral in April of 2024 with a series trying to find her prom dress. And then this video of herself in a yellow prom dress, lip syncing to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where she ends up at the end accidentally falling into the pool. I will show this video to you now, Millie. So, pretty girl, pretty dress. She falls in the pool. That's the video that made her super viral. Then the 2 of them got into like a spat on TikTok about this. That video has 64.4 million views, by the way. This started a back and forth between Kylan and Izzy on TikTok because Kylan said that was actually her dress and Izzy ruined the dress. And then Izzy wore a different one of Kylan's pageant dresses to prom, but she put a strap on it, which pissed Kylan off because Kylan said that the dress was $10,000 and it was custom and she was holding on to it in case you needed to do more pageants.
So sister fight, but
but happening on TikTok, basically.
Happening on TikTok, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's like a blown up rich girl version of the classic, like, you borrowed my leggings, wear my fucking leggings fight that sisters have. But it's all happening on TikTok. So I think a lot of people felt like, is any of this real? Or are you guys just, that's kind of the vibe. They are now embroiled in controversy because of a Christmas haul video that Kylan posted after Christmas. For anyone who doesn't know, a haul is basically like a TikToker influencer will come on, they'll show you all the shit that they bought or got, and they show it all to camera. It's a very popular type of video. This video is 5 minutes long and not interesting for us to play here because it's literally just her showing products, but I will explain what happens. Starts off pretty tame. We get some Zara, we get some Aloe, we get some Free People. But as the haul continues, Kylan starts to show off some very seriously luxury items. So she shows off these Chanel tennis shoes that are roughly $1,200, Chanel kitten heels that are like $1,200, 3 different Chanel bags, including the Chanel straw raffia bag, which, Chanel doesn't even like advertise how much these bags cost. When you're getting into the like luxury bag space, that's a whole other world. You have to like go to the store and make nice with one of the sales associates and get them to put you on a list. Like, the world of luxury bag buying is insane. But the bags that she was showing could be anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 bags. She showed a Lady Dior D-Joy handbag, which is probably around $6,000 if it's new, and 2 Van Cleef necklaces. I went on this brand's website. The necklaces that I saw on there ranged anywhere from $2,800 to there was literally one that was $18,000. So this is some very seriously pricey shit that is in the haul, right? People notice this immediately. People in the comments, they start chatting. They start noticing, okay, when Kylan gets to the super luxury stuff, she's really only showing it for like a second. Suspicion starts to grow that perhaps some of these items are not authentic. But the suspicion grows even further when Izzy posts her own haul, and it includes the Kelly Birkin bag. So the deal with that bag, we don't know the pricing of a Birkin because they're Birkins, but it could be between $30,000 and $200,000 for a Birkin bag, a genuine Birkin. And this starts to really raise alarm bells because you can't really just buy a Birkin. Like, you can't like go to an Hermes store and get a Birkin bag. They're really rare. You have to get on a waiting list to get them. Celebrities.
You have to get a dealer, yeah.
Yeah, like celebrities wait a long time to get Birkin bags. You have to, again, have someone at Hermes who can like vouch for you as like you kind of have to go there, buy a bunch of other stuff, spend a bunch of money, get on their list of like, okay, this is a big spender who could maybe get a Birkin at some point. You don't just like get the Birkin that you want. You get whatever Birkin is available. It's like a whole fucking weird industry of crazy bag buying stuff. So people immediately are like, absolutely not. There's no way that this shit is real. And they start to
this 19-year-old girl from like Ohio.
Alarm bells start to ring, and people start to be like, we think this shit is fake, and we think that it's all DHgate. And I do, as our DHgate expert, want to give you the floor to explain DHgate to the listeners at this point.
Yeah, so I would say people feel pretty strongly about it. But personally, if you ever go to Chinatown in New York City and you see that they have fake bags, and to me, they're good quality fakes, they're not like, if it says Gucci, before it used to be like Hoochie, like with an H and like all this stuff. But like, these are like, I would say high quality, fake bags, not authentic, whatever. And you could get them on the street in New York City for like $60, $40, $50, $80, as opposed to 200, 500, 1,000. So now there's an app that connects you to these factories in China. It's where they make all this shit. Some places like Hermes or whatever, they're like, oh, we make it in Italy or something. And they might, but like in China, they can like replicate everything.
It's a site for high quality knockoffs is like the vibe of DHgate. So, okay, people are now all up in arms in the comments. They are analyzing every little thing that they showed. So here's one video that I think is a good example of the type of conversation that is being had around this haul and like whether or not the things are real or fake.
I saw the Izzy and Kylan Darnell Rich Girl Christmas haul, and a lot of it is DHgate. Not to be a hater, usually I'm like, girl, get your bag, save your money. But the fact that they're flaunting all this stuff as if it's real, this was my first giveaway. When she showed her Chanel shoes, they came in a matte Chanel black box. Chanel shoes come in a box that's kind of like textured like this. They're not matte. And they don't open up the way that she opened the box. They are this kind of box, lid kind of thing. And then with the Chanel shoes, because those shoes are not in-season shoes, they're more like collector's items. I collect designer Chanel shoes that are not in season because it's my favorite thing to do. I have these, and notice how older Chanel shoes are. A lot of them are wooded like this. So there's pair number 1. This is pair number 2, again, wooded as fuck. Pair number 3 of Chanel shoes, wooded as fuck. And then also the writing on the Chanel shoes were a little funky. See how like the Chanel feels very real and it's leather and it's imprinted like that. That was giveaway number 2. These Chanel shoes as well. This is imprinted. And then I have another pair of Chanel shoes right here, and that is imprinted in there. Her shoes, it looked like the Chanel name was literally printed on, not imprinted. So that was giveaway on why their Rich Girl Christmas haul was all DHgate. And also the fact that they were flaunting a Birkin Kelly mini bag. You know how hard it is to get one of those? They don't just like sell them. It's not something you can just like online order. You have to be on a fucking wait list or get it secondhand. I literally go to New York to source my vintage designer items because, like I said, I am a collector. I don't buy brand new. Here and there, I will. Like, I have an extensive collection of Prada shoes. The reason I like older Chanel, Prada, and Gucci shoes is because the quality is so much better versus now. So, yeah, that was a giveaway as to why her shoes, her bags were fake and from DHgate. There's nothing wrong with that, but I hate when people show off their DHgate shit and are like, oh my God, look at everything I got. Like, girl, just own the fact that it's DHgate. It's okay. But to come on here and say you got a fucking Birkin for Christmas when it's from DHgate is insane.
So that's the vibe, is like people are experts in this stuff. People who are like super into luxury goods and shit, like they are also really into figuring out how to spot fakes and dupes. And it does come down to like, this clasp is not this thing, whatever. So people start really going in deep on the videos. So first, we get a response from Izzy.
Hey, go friends, get ready with me to go out to lunch with my friends. But first, I think everybody on this app has forgotten the reason why we celebrate Christmas. And that alone is a problem. We should all be celebrating Jesus and his birthday rather than a teenager in high school's haul of what she got for Christmas. Not even talking about it, hating about it. For Christmas, guys, we're supposed to be like grateful, spend time with our family, be thankful for the gifts that we have got. And somehow you guys are hating so hard, you're trying to make me hate my Christmas gifts from my parents that worked hard to buy me those gifts. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's not me, it's you. I'm sorry, but for people on this app to be trying to bully a teenager into hating what their parents bought for them is wild.
Okay. Thoughts on Izzy's response video?
I feel like I was going to say she looks like a child. I didn't know, like, I thought that she was like, I thought they were both in college.
Well, Izzy might be in college now. Maybe she's like 19, you know? Because her whole thing was going to prom, but I'm not sure if that was junior.
Maybe that was junior prom.
I just think it's funny to be like, you guys forgot the true meaning of Christmas, which is Jesus. And it's like, what? You're the one who got like a $30,000 handbag.
Personally, I don't really give a fuck about luxury stuff, personally. I
No.
think, like, I'm not going to judge anybody who wants to spend actual money on, like, a good luxury item. As you can see, like that other girl said, there are quality differences. You can wear the fuck out of a Chanel thing, like, versus a DHgate thing. Like, they are high quality dupes, but they are still, at the end of the day, dupes. They're not made out of wood. They're not whatever. I think that's fine for a teen. That's probably healthier and better. The whole thing is probably why people want to call her out is like, you're making your whole life look like this aspirational thing, and it's not. Like, oh my God, don't you want to be like me? It's the same thing as the Marlena Velez thing.
Yeah.
Of like, you're fucking lying and you're not real, and it's fine. It's fine. There's a whole side of TikTok that is fence talk, because it's actually like, you're not supposed to promote like counterfeit goods, but it's just people who are just putting like their haul of DHgate items. That's a whole side of TikTok. It's very popular. People fuck with it. That's not what they're trying to do.
No, I also don't care if people have like real goods or dupes. I think the issue is to be like, I got the Kelly Birkin bag, and it's like,
Yeah.
Fake. So anyway, here we have Kylan's response.
Hey, y'all. I hope you're having a great day, not just a good day. And we're going to have a little chit chat because it's time to really all back in. And I am not trying to come across as mean in any way, because I do try to come online and be positive and be like a positive light. But, I don't even know what to say because I don't really owe y'all an explanation, but like, I thought that everybody knew that like people buy like some of my stuff that's designer is real and some of it's fake. I thought that was like an everybody thing. Like, I know so many people that I go to college with that their parents have like way more money than I could ever dream of imagine having. Have real and have fake. Like, I didn't know that would be that big of an issue. And so I just think it's crazy because, like, for example, people talk about all the time how, like, celebrities will rent out outfits for occasions and, like, be sponsored by brands and rent out diamonds for a night. Like I have real and I have fake. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so this is a 6-minute long video, so I'm just going to post to the end, which brings us to where she kind of messes up.
And Miss Tanya, my mom, said that it's not DHgate where she gets the fake stuff. It's actually the real. So she like pays monthly for a membership where you can get like secondhand designer and all of that stuff. And that's why most of our like presents like can be vintage and can be old because it's like secondhand sold.
What do we think of Kylan's overall thing, which is basically like, yeah, I thought you guys knew some stuff is fake and some stuff is real.
Again, I don't think that people did know that, and you weren't like advertising it and no one cares, but it's just that you care that people said something.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I'm just like, yeah, that might be true. And honestly, if you wanted to just say, hey guys, sorry, I wasn't really thinking about, like, yeah, some of the stuff is fake, some of it's real. I wasn't thinking about it in that way. Personally, I would say don't show your knockoff stuff on TikTok in a haul because you could end up getting in trouble if you're someone with 1 million followers. Like,
yeah.
My feeling is she should have just kept the haul to stuff that was real and maybe showed like one pair of the fake Chanel shoes and been like, I did get Chanel, and then it wouldn't have been the same thing. But it's like, once you're showing a haul that's worth like $60,000 of stuff, people are going to be like, is this real? And then you're getting yourself into this dicey place. But the reason I showed the end of the video is because the end of the video is where she made her fatal mistake. Did you catch it?
She said it's from the real.
She said it's from the real. So she brought the real into it. And she brought Mama Darnell into it, who is her own mother. Mama Darnell then posts a video of her own. We don't need to watch it. it's like a video of herself drinking to I don't care, I love it. And then the text is just, okay, hate me for buying my girls the Real for Christmas. They are spoiled brats anyway. So now 2 people have said that stuff came from the Real. So now this takes it to another level because the Real, they're called the Real. They want you to, they don't want people to say that they're buying fake knockoff goods on the Real. The Real's whole thing is that you can buy secondhand luxury goods there. That's the point of it. So then people start tagging the Real and they start being like, please clear up the Kylan and Tanya Darnell situation. LOL, y'all need to sue or file a lawsuit or else you will lose customers. Then the Real responds, hey, appreciate you flagging this. We reached out to the Darnells directly to clear up any confusion. Thank you for your patience and concern. Heart, sincerely, a social media manager. So now the Real is involved. The Real then posts an ad. We're not going to watch it because it's an ad for the Real. But it's clearly in response to all of this. And it is an ad starring the Kelly mini Birkin bag, showing how, like, the entire process of how they authenticate their bags. So clearly it is, like, made in response to this situation. People are then now starting to speculate the Darnells could face legal action, though I watched a couple lawyer TikToks who said that's probably unlikely. So where does this all end, Millie? It ends with another haul. We have one more video to watch.
Oh my God.
I know.
Hey, y'all. I hope you're having a great day, not just a good day. And today is the official best day ever. Because I love the internet, and no matter what happens on the internet, I swear it will always come out great unless you do something diabolically.
So we would like to
insane.
thank you guys for saying that everything we owned was fake. Because our mommies and daddies felt so bad. They bought us everything real.
Anyway, the point is they got all the bags for real now. They have all the fancy bags. Everybody has their fancy designer bags for real. So for the crime of tricking people with fake luxury goods for likes and views, then trying to blame a company that was uninvolved in said fake luxury goods, when the entire time you could have just afforded all the luxury goods in the first place. Izzy and Kylan, go touch grass.
Go touch grass.
And that was
and
a
their
whirlwind.
Fucking parents too. Fuck
And their parents too.
Fuck
Probably,
them.
honestly, more the parents. Like, really, you're gonna let fucking, because your daughter's got in an internet thing, you guys are gonna spend like fucking $60,000 on bags because
they probably brought 3 of the bags and it's secondhand, so they're not gonna spend. They're probably spending $5,000, honestly.
Based on a lot of the videos I watched, I think that the dad and mom like got upset that people were saying they couldn't afford all this stuff, so now they got their kids the stuff. And it's like, really, you are adults, like, you should be.
A good example would be like, we can afford this, but we don't spend our money like this. I remember my family, like, I used to be like asking my parents, because we had across the street neighbors, and they always had really nice cars and their house is clean and all this like was perfect. And I'm like, how come we don't have nice cars? And then my mom's like, we have a bunch of fucking kids. And like, sure, we probably make enough money or whatever, but we spend our money taking care of you fucking assholes and going on vacation and doing different shit. And that's just them's the breaks.
Yeah, it's just funny for 2 adults to like get embroiled in TikTok drama that's happening with their daughters and be like, I guess we have to buy thousands of dollars in luxury bags. So go touch grass to the Darnell parents as well. And that's our episode, the very first episode of 2025. There was
5 hours long.
I know. There was much to be uncovered, much to be unearthed. We'll be back in studio with a very fun guest next week, and we are so excited. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, and until next time, go touch grass.
Grass.
We'll be able to say it in unison next week when we're together.
That was a HeadGum podcast.
Hi, I'm Caleb Heron, host of the So True podcast, now on HeadGum. Every week, me and my guests get into it and we get down to what's really going on. I ask them what's so true to them, how they got to where they are in life, a bunch of other questions, and we also may or may not test their general trivia knowledge, whether it's one of my sworn enemies like Brittany Broski or Drew Wallow, or my actual biological mother, Kelly. My guests and I are just after the truth, and if we find it, great, and if not, no worries. So subscribe to So True on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch video episodes on the So True with Caleb Heron YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday. Love ya.